Hi everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel and welcome to a Books Beside My Bed video. Can I just say 2023 has been a year and when I say that I thought I couldn't have a worse week than I've already had so far this year, yeah, that's just putting bad energy out into the universe, and of course the universe hates me, so I can't really talk about what's going on, but it's not been a good week. And I know I'm going to hate myself in post while I'm editing because I'm wearing jingle bell earrings, but I need jingle bell earrings in my life today. So we are just going to absolutely run with that and just hope for the best. I have not even written down the dates, but it is the 16th. So I'm going to assume that this is from the, oh gosh, this is my reading wrap up from the 9th until the 15th of December. I read quite a bit this week, which is probably good. A lot of it was distraction by the end of the week, and quite a few audiobooks thrown in here while I've been wrapping gifts and trying, well, attempting to do housework and failing to do housework and traveling places before and after school and whatnot. So we are just going to jump straight into it. I had two rereads this week. The first one was Magic Bleeds by Lana, which is Kate Daniels' book 4. I was listening to the graphic audio of this. It's the first time I've heard the graphic audio. This again was one of my background ones and it was delightful, as always. Ilona is just my go-to, and I probably just need to put Ilona on repeat for the next 10 days. It's like a soothing thing for me now. But the fourth installment really digs into the relationship between Kate and Curran. It is them finally acknowledging their feelings, finally giving into them, all amidst Kate having to face a very dangerous relative who has turned up in Atlanta. It's also the first book where we are introduced to one of my favorite side characters, Barabbas, and a whole host of other pack members. So I thoroughly enjoyed this. Do not be surprised if I talk about rereads of Kate Daniels in the next wrap up. I also reread That One Night, the novella by Emily Rath. Now, I currently own 3 physical copies of That One Night. I have the original novella cover, the rebranded novella cover, and it's also in the special edition of Pucking Around. So I actually read it in here. I also listened to the audio for it, and I'm also currently highlighting in here. So my friends and I are doing a read along. We've just started reading Pucking Around. We're reading about 100 pages every day for the next 7 days. So that reread is ongoing as well. So That One Night, and also I've currently read the first 100 pages of Pucking Around again. That's also going to be helpful this week because this book is just entirely readable and fun. It is a hockey romance. It is a wide shoes romance. It is just absolutely lovely. And the one thing that I did make a comment on about the first 100 pages is that it is really clear how distinct all of the characters are. Sometimes with a wide shoes, you begin to blur the lines and forget which characters are which, and their perspectives are not all that distinctive. They are in here. All of them have very strong, distinct personalities that makes them easily distinguishable from one another, so you never forget who is who in any of the scenes. I'm looking forward to doing that. I'm listening to the audio for Pucking Around, which is the first time, and the narration so far has been great. All right, then I read Wrapped by Rebekah Weatherspoon. This is book 4 in the Fit series. I can't remember how many books I've read in that series. I've read at least 1 or 2, and I'm jumping around in it in the wrong order, clearly. I'm going to be perfectly honest, with the week that I've had, the details of this one have not stuck in my brain, not because it's a bad book, but just because it was an okay book and I enjoyed it, and it was short. The heroine, I believe, is a pastry chef. The hero works in tech, and the heroine has recently gone through a divorce, and the divorce was around fertility issues, and her ex is an absolute dirtbag. Oh, now I remember. And the hero and the heroine used to work at the same company, and they were friendly, but they were attracted to one another. She was married, so nothing ever happened. And then now that she's divorced, her friends get her on a dating app, and they happen to come across this former co-worker's profile. The rest is history. It's 119 pages, and if you like Rebekah Weatherspoon, you will probably enjoy this one. I also read Outfield Assist by Giraldo, which is the second book in the Dominating the Diamond series. This one is a polyamorous relationship between a baseball player, one of the coaches who is one of the first female coaches for a Major League Baseball team, I believe, and a former swimmer who had Olympic dreams, but something has happened and he has stepped away from that for the time being, and so he is now working for the baseball team because his father is the coach. Yes, he was the coach. This polyamorous relationship was great because you have a gay biromantic hero, a bisexual hero, and a bisexual heroine. The dynamics of the three of them were just gorgeous, and in particular the way that it dealt with the romantic relationship between the gay hero and the heroine in the story as well was just so touching. Like, I loved their relationship because it's just beautiful how they navigate that, as well as sort of the team dynamics. They're all working together. They're all sort of working through their own issues and working as a unit and a team. The baseball player is dealing with early onset osteoarthritis, so there is chronic pain representation on the page, and there is a really great depiction of exploration of kink and relationship dynamics, and oh my gosh, it was just great. Like, I adored it. I had the best time reading it. I loved the characters, and Kat Giraldo has made me read 2 baseball books. I'm not at all interested in watching baseball. I don't care about the sport, but I want to keep reading her books with these characters. I also read a historical / spec fic time slip novel called Signal Moon by Quinn. It is a World War II historical novel, kind of, because Lily, the heroine, is a codebreaker in World War II. And she stumbles across this signal while she's listening, and it doesn't make sense to her, and she realizes that something bad is going to happen. And the date of this bad event is in 2023. And so she decides to see if she can kind of set up a way to communicate with the voice that she hears on the end of the line in 2023. And it was just really interesting and fascinating. I did read this because it was for a Bookemon prompt. I needed a book with moon on the cover or in the title. And this was one I think I got as an Amazon first release at some point, but I actually really enjoyed it. I'm not big on reading a lot of World War II history stuff anymore, but because this one took part partly during World War II and partly in present day, it was very interesting. It was a very interesting story, and I might have to look at Kate Quinn's other books, because if she has other shorts, I would be interested in reading them, because she did a great job with this. I also read A War of Ruin and Reckoning by Lana Pecherczyk. This is the 3rd book in the Season of the Elf series within the Fae Guardian series. So I am 9 books into this series. I'm currently caught up. This means I'm caught up on this series for my series reads of the year. This is Nova and Leaf's book. Leaf is the leader of the Elf Guardians in this series. He is very, like all the heroes, not really receptive to the idea of having a human mate from the past, and yet when he finds her, he is determined to help her. Of course, it doesn't quite go as smoothly as that, and there is a little bit of, we're going to fake being fated mates for a time being because they don't really trust each other initially, but obviously that develops over time as they really confront one of the overarching enemies of the series so far, which is the Queen of the Unseelie Court, and dealing with the past and who some of these characters really are, because what I probably haven't talked about, because it doesn't really make sense if you haven't read the first couple of books. In this sort of post-nuclear apocalypse world, 3 people survived, sort of the end of the world, and they sort of became these leaders within the world, but their history has been lost and people don't really understand how they came into power, how they came into being, but they are some of the more powerful players in this world. We find out how Leaf is involved in that. We find out the history of sort of all of these faction leaders and really kind of the heartbreaking story of all of that, which was really interesting to read. So I'm currently caught up on Fae Guardians. I know the next one that's coming out is the Slew book, which I'm actually really looking forward to. That's going to be a Why Choose book that was set up in this one. So I'm very, very intrigued to see where that goes. And then hopefully we'll be getting Season of the Crow, I think is the last 3 books. I'm looking forward to that. I also read The Risk and Sidetracked by St. Abbey, which are the first 2 books in the Mindfuck series, and I am really enjoying it. I'm listening to the audios, they're very short, and it is the romance between an FBI profiler and a female serial killer. And she has a very good reason. She has very specific targets about who she's going after, and they are the men who attacked and assaulted her and left her for dead. We are told constantly that after the kidnapping in SA and assault, she died on the table twice. She coded, and she now has a new name, a new identity, and a new mission to make sure that the men who hurt her and the people around her pay for their crimes. And of course, falling for an FBI agent is really not in her best interest, but that has happened. And they find their paths sort of intertwining as the cases that they're both involved in, hers being her mission and his being something that he's investigating, begin to intertwine as their relationship develops. There's a lot of content and trigger warnings in this one, but it is a really interesting story. It is very smartly written and I'm deeply enjoying it. I have the 3rd audiobook out and I think I'm just going to go and borrow the rest of them out on Libby so that I can continue to read them. I also read Snowed In by Mackenzy Fox and Dakotah Fox. This came in my most recent Romance Cartel box. It is a small town cowboy Christmas romance. This has a special edition foiled cover and I don't know if it'll come up, but the edges are sort of iridescent. This is the story of Presley and Travis. Presley lives in a small town. She has recently gotten divorced. Her best friends and her sister take her out for a night on the town, a town away or something like that. And she ends up having a one-night stand with this guy that she's never seen before and has a great time. And then she goes back home and is determined to move on with her life. She needs to find a place to stay because she's currently sleeping on her parents' couch while they're renovating, while she's hunting for a new place. She finds a new place, and it turns out that the owner of said place is her one-night stand. And not only that, he is new to the town. He has a construction business. He is involved in the town planning for the local Christmas festival that she chairs, and she just finds herself having to deal with him constantly until they end up being snowed in just before Christmas and have to decide whether or not they're actually going to do anything about this attraction that they have between them. It was short, it was fun, highly enjoyable, and these two are Australian authors, which I didn't realise. And then finally, I read Trick or Trent by Evie Mitchell, which is Evie Mitchell's most recent release. It is book 5 in the Dog Pack. It is an contemporary romance set in the small town of Capricorn Cove. The Dog Pack series follows a family of siblings who are mostly adopted. So Jay from Not My Type was adopted into the family, so that's a link into that series as well. Ryan is an arson investigator in the town, and his ex-boyfriend Trent comes back to town after leaving when they were teens. There is a lot of baggage there that the two of them have to get over, particularly as Trent is now a firefighter, and so their paths cross quite a bit. There are a series of fires happening around town, which the two of them work out is someone who is probably sleeping rough and losing control of the fires that they're lighting to keep warm. And so sort of trying to figure that out brings them together, as well as a really beautiful scene where Ryan is talking to, I think, his nieces about an issue that they have, and he realizes that he's holding on to a grudge that he probably doesn't need to hold on to anymore. And so that forces them to have an actual conversation and to talk about how the fact that they are still attracted to one another and that there are feelings involved. It's only very short, it's 100 pages long, so things move quite quickly. So if that's not your thing, be aware of that, but it is very much Evie Mitchell's thing in this series. They're all very short stories and they are just highly enjoyable, highly readable, and I was very excited to have a new Evie Mitchell book to read. All right, so that is my wrap up for this week. I'm sorry if it was not as coherent as other weeks. There's a lot going on in my head at the moment, so hopefully by the time this video goes up, things will have improved. In the comments, I'd love to know if you've read any of these books or if you're planning on picking any of them up. Otherwise, feel free to share something you have been reading and enjoying this week. If you just want to let me know that you're here but you don't want to leave a comment, feel free to leave a full moon emoji down below. I hope that wherever you're in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, everyone.